beauty is momentary in our minds, while in the physical body, it is immortal. One would have expected the poet to say just the opposite. The poem tells us that flesh and immortality are not at odds, as is normally thought. The poet explains it 4 times until one accepts the subtle truth of the argument. Bodies do die, but other bodies take their place. So do evenings and madness. The last section is a kind of philosophizing out of the musing. The poet claims that the beauty of the mind is temporary, but the beauty of the body is everlasting. There are also claims that music is a feeling, not sound. Thank you, Doctor.
Okay, thank you very much. Majidi, yes, please. Majidi, yeah.
Hello, sir. Good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Actually, sorry because of my sound, and I have an allergic sound right now. Sorry, I'm so.
God bless you.
Okay. Actually, I wanted to talk about the poem. But before that, I want to say something about the poet himself, who was actually living in America, and he was born. Actually, he's a modernist poet, and he was born in late 19th, and he died. Actually, he was born in late 90s, and he was dead actually in late 20s, in mid 20s, and as he was living in a period of modern time, it's very actually clear and obvious that he was actually writing about issues differently, and this poem is also have some different aspects of things which are universal, like beauty, and he's actually writing about woman's beauty and actually sensualities, but actually he's talking about the beauty very differently, and he actually wants to express that beauty is a moment, is in fact a moment in our minds, and maybe it is for example, the beauty in the body is immortal, and he wants to say something like this. And also, this poem is very expresses a lot of sexual desires, but it's not only about sexual desires, but also is about actually there are some dimensions beyond these sexual desires about a person called Susanna, and this poem is talking about beauty, as I said. Also, the music of the I wanted to say something. So it is actually really related, as my friend said, related to the Midsummer Night's Dream by Shakespeare, which is actually somehow inspired. But actually, Stevens was inspired by this poem, and he actually, I can say, took some images and some actually directions, somehow some ironies or something like that. That's it, sir. I want to say.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Yes, Ms. Huda. Yes, please.
Good morning, sir.
Good
My
morning.
voice is clear.
Yes, clear.
Actually, as I read this poem, I wanted to say that it seemed to me so melodious and it was so musical, and uh, at the same time, it was kind of spiritual. It was not just for this world, because it has got some phrases like some images and the souls and the mates and the picture of heaven maybe. But when I mm, refer to the Stevens books, it is from his first book of poetry, which is named Harmonium, and so it has got a kind of a musical poem maybe in here. And in this poem, as Miss Majidi said, we have this character Peter Queens, which I wanted to say that in Shakespeare's works, Peter Queens is a comic character, and he's a kind of self-conscious, overachieving, and but here in Stephen's poem, this Peter Queen is a speaker, and he is a serious thinker, and there is the relationship here in Stephen's poem between the music and feeling, and also between beauty and desire. And as here we have the Susanna character as the beauty, which maybe the poet wants to has the desire for her. And we have here a young poet and actually an old laker, which we have the affecting of these two characters on each other. For example, the laker's old man. And about the Susanna herself, I wanted to say some points. She seems to be an independent character, and her flesh lives on in other flesh, and she's as a beauty in body and soul. Uh, I mean, Stephen both looks at body and soul at the same time, and she survives people's weaknesses and moral and physical. And at the second point, her flesh is immortal, and in the whole scheme of the nature and of change. And as we see lots of imagery, a very beautiful imagery in this poem, which what happens in the grass and in the nature, let's say, and all the picture of Susanna that is picturized and visualized for us in the most beautiful way. And we have got about Susanna that she lives in the perception of beauty and always with people in the flesh. And we see in the point that her body dies, but that dying is only an escape from the desires, pitiful scrapings. As we see it in the last lines of the poem, that we have constant music. This constant means immortal, and it is a sacrament of praise, which this line actually connects two beauties in this constant music. And this connection, we see also this connection in the first line, that the poet says that just as my fingers on these keys. Actually, the first and the last line have got this connection about this beauty, which I saw. And we also have got allusions, for example, like Byzantine and similes, and we have a personification of death in the ending lines as well. And from the whole thing, it was so beautiful, the poem actually.
All right, thank you very much. Well, let me read the poem first, and then we'll go through together. Just as my fingers on these keys make music, so the self same sounds on my spirit make a music. too. Music is feeling, then, not sound. And thus, it is that what I feel here in this room, desiring you. Thinking of your blue shadowed silk is music. It is like the strain waked in the elders by Susanna. Of a green evening, clear and warm, she bathed in her still garden, while the red-eyed elders, watching, felt the bases of their beings throb. In witching chords and their thin blood pulse pizzicati of Hosanna. In the green water, clear and warm, Susanna lay. She searched the touch of springs and found concealed imaginings. She sighed for so much melody. Upon the bank she stood in the cool of spent emotions. She felt among the leaves the dew of old devotion. She walked upon the grass still quavering. The winds were like her maids, on timid feet fetching her woven scarves, yet wavering. A breath upon her hand muted the night. She turned, the cymbal crashed, and roaring horns. Soon with a noise like tambourines came her attendant Byzantines. They wondered why Susanna cried against the elders by her side, and as they whispered, the refrain was like a willow swept by rain. And under lamps uplifted flame revealed Susanna and her shame, and then the simpering Byzantine fled with a noise like tambourines. Beauty is momentary in the mind, the fitful tracing of a portal, but in the flesh it is immortal. The body dies, the body's beauty lives. So evenings die in their green going, a wave interminably flowing. So gardens die, their meek breath scenting the cold winter dawn, repenting. So maidens die to the oral celebration of a maiden's choral. Susanna's music touched the body strings of those white elders, but escaping left only death's ironic scraping. Now, in its immortality, it plays on the clear vial of her memory and makes the constant sacrament of praise. Well, as your friends talked about already, obviously the title of the poem is an allusion to A Midsummer Night's Dream, since the name Peter Quince, we might find that is the stage manager of the rustic actors in that play. You know, he's in a sense the stage manager of imagination. I mean, Peter Quince there in that very famous play, Summer Night's Dream. So the poem begins with this um, idea that what we are going to read is um, constant play of emotions spent by an artist. Now, it is just like that he's speaking to us, telling us the story of how he has felt that um, um, moment, experiencing beauty as he is playing on the clavier. Now, let's read it again, um, stanza by stanza. Just as my fingers and these keys make music, so the self same sounds of my spirit make a music too. Well, the idea of beauty has been a long and much debated concept. As what is beauty? Is it something sensual? Well, because I can hear this beautiful music, because I can see that beautiful painting, because I can read this beautiful poem, because I can see that beautiful garden. Is that beauty as we make um, 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 any experiences of? Or beauty is something which is in our mind. It is our mind, it is our conception of beauty which gives way to what we find in this world beautiful. That is to say, if I want to be a little bit similar than the beautiful things which might happen outside in the world, that beauty is in our minds. That beauty is the conception we have for such a pleasure. Beauty entails pleasure, we know. Beauty creates pleasure, we know. And that pleasure and that um, um, rich moment of an experience is nothing but our perceptions of beauty. That's why for everyone, for you and I, for each and every individual on the face of this world, beauty can be defined in a certain, a unique way. And that is why beauty is everlastingly and indefinitely multiplying itself. As many people we have on the face of this earth, as many people have experienced this world, we might have beauties defined. So, since beauty comes to be felt in that enormous number of ways, then beauty is not limited to anything. That is what he actually begins the poem giving us an example of. He begins with music, that feeling, and the music itself. The very simple question is, just imagine that a Peter Quince someone is playing on a clavier, on a piano, on the stage. Is that music that he is playing the definition of beauty, or the perception you and I have in our minds as beautiful, the meaning of beauty? Well, the music you and I hear might trigger beauty. It might bring in a sense of beauty to begin, but it is not beauty itself. Beauty, rather than outside in the notes, is in our mind. The same thing is when he talks about Susanna. We'll extensively talk about the story of Susanna and the elders, the Byzantines. Well, these elders who were, people of influence, they were people whom others could rely on, were mesmerized, were hypnotized by the beauty of Susanna. Although that story tells us that they were subject to this sin, but we know, as the poet tells us, that the beauty they could see, the beauty they found in Susanna, was that much impressive that they could not escape feeling it. They could not escape experiencing it. They could not escape being hypnotized by that beauty. So Wallace Stevens is telling us, no matter how you and I actually, no matter how you and I are motivated by that beauty, no matter how human beings are triggered by a sense of beauty, what remains is that beauty in the mind. That is to say, the object is not important. The object which creates such a beauty is not important. But the effect that we have in our minds, that beauty is everlasting. That is what he even talks about these characters as well. We now know that Peter Quince is gone. No one as Peter Quince anymore to live on the face of this earth. No Susanna in body and flesh. But still, the beauty that these two were to represent goes on. What is important is not that object of beauty, but beauty itself. Well, the objects of beauty might be subject to death. Well, Susanna is no longer living among human beings, but her beauty is still reverberating through whoever reads this story. So what remains is that beauty, although that source of beauty and that object of beauty is um, um, uh, forever gone. What we might, in that sense, uh, confront as I began is that since there is no limitation to the idea of beauty, since as many people who have lived and will come to live on the face of this world perceive that sense of beauty, then the unlimited, infinite number of these perceptions of beauty tells us how vast and how diverse and how multiple this understanding of beauty is. That's why he begins the poem like that. Just as my fingers and these keys make music, so the self same sounds and my spirit make music too. Well, he says, although you're listening to what these fingers playing on the clavier, you hear is not this device playing, is not this device imagining, is not this device creating that, but it is my soul creating that beauty, creating that sense of harmony in music. Once you hear it, you will find it beautiful. So beauty is what the artist feels. And the medium, whatsoever that medium is, whether it's music, whether it's painting, whether it's poetry, whether it's drama, whatsoever that thing is, that object, that medium is nothing but something we need to express that beauty and then make our audiences feel that beauty. So art is by itself not beautiful, not ugly, not this and that, but it's just a medium to bridge that beauty in my mind and the beauty in your mind. Once we get this conception of beauty, no matter whatsoever the medium would be, he believes the chain, the recreating chain of beauty has entailed itself. Just as my fingers on these keys make music, so the self same sounds on my spirit make music too. It is my spirit, it is my feeling creating that music, but that musical instrument is nothing but a medium, but a catalyst which is needed to carry out those those notes in my heart. Take care when he talks about this melodious, beautiful, notes, music notes. His poetic notes, his poetic use of sounds also become beautiful by the use of the uh, sound. Listen, just as my fingers on these keys make music, so the self same sound on my spirit make music too. You see, that repetition of sound actually brings in that vibrating joy that he is telling us, um, his feelings of the beloved, of that beauty, of whatsoever. Music is feeling, then, not sound. So one might say that what we have as music is not that sound you and I hear, it's that feeling in the Creator, which is carried by these sounds we hear. It's that feeling which is conveyed through these notes and sounds to those who come to hear it. Music is feeling, then, not sound, and thus it is that what I feel. So music is what I feel, not what I play. Here in this room, desiring you. So, he says that I can conclude that music is my desire for you in this room. So, since music is feeling, the desire he feels for the beloved of whom he's thinking in itself is a kind of music. Thinking of your blue shadowed silk is music. That blue shadowed silk, that is the beautiful Susanna-like garment of Peter Quincy's beloved. He says that once I think about your blue shadowed silk, what you are putting on, when I think about that, when I remember that, then that is by itself beauty. Thinking of your blue shadowed silk is music. It is that beauty, that feeling of beauty is like the strain waked in the elders by Susanna. It is just like that strain. It is just like that urge. It is just like that desire, which was um, um, created in the hearts of those elders who looked at Susanna. Well, although that was something of a shame, what the elders um, actually what the elders did, but once they saw Susanna, Susanna herself was not important, just like that music, which is not important, but the beauty it makes. He says the elders were moved by the same feeling when they saw Susanna. So the same feeling of the same sensation of beauty the same sensation of Susanna's was what the elders felt, what the elders were moved by. So even though Susanna dies, even though those elders go away and die, still that beauty which was embodied in Susanna lives on. It is like the strain waked in the elders by Susanna. Metaphorically, just like what Susanna's beauty has done, here um, um, the beauty of the music played upon the clavier awakens the same sense of beauty which is carried by these sounds and notes. Of a green evening, this is the story of Susanna, and that is, as your friends already talked about, the another allusion, that reference to the Bible, the story of Susanna and the elders, found in Apocrypha. Of a green evening, clear and warm, she bathed in her still garden, in her quiet garden, while the red-eyed elders watching while she was bathing in her garden, the elders watched her beauty. And the red-eyed elders watching felt the bases of their beings throb. They could feel that beauty at the bottom of the hearts, and how their hearts began to throb as they were watching Susanna. The bases of their beings throb in witching chords, just like a musical instrument. The hearts were filled up and full of that beautiful music, triggered by that beauty they saw. And their thin blood, whole pizzicaria of Hosanna, and as they were watching her, their body, just like a musical instrument, was pleased in witnessing such beauty, as if they were shouting Hosanna, which is, that it's a shout, praise and worship to God, as if they praised God for such a beauty created by him. In the green water, clear and warm, Susanna lay. She reached. This is very interesting that the second part of the poem, when the story of Susanna is told, the lines are that short, as if just like those elders who were moved by Susanna's beauty, the poet is also moved by that beauty when he talks about it. And that's why it is just like that. He can speak only in short lines, because he cannot breathe. Is that much excited of that beauty, of that Susanna, that even right now, after so many centuries, when he talks about that scene, when he talks about those elders and beauty Susanna has, still that excited feeling um, uh, um, reverberates through his words and heart as well. That is why, as I told you, we make this. We actually take the story of Susanna. It actually serves as an extended simile for the feeling, for that feeling of beauty, no matter what it has, um, no matter where it has come from, that beauty, whenever referred to, whenever remembered, whenever recited again, is exciting. And the green water, clear and warm, Susanna lay. He searched the touch of a spring and found concealed imaginings. And she found those fantasies and dreams as how beauty to her fingers might appear. She sighed for so much melody. You see, remember I told you, as many people who have been here in the face of this world, as many people who are living right now, and as many people who will come to live on the face of this world, will have the idea of beauty unique to themselves. You see how vast and infinite is the conception of beauty, is how people perceive beauty. So for such vastness, for so much melody, Susanna is excited and is surprised to see that how many faces in an infinite way beauty can show itself. On the banks, upon the bank, she stood in the cool of spent emotion. When she stood there, she had all those emotions, feelings, and conceptions of beauty. Spent, experienced devotions. This is a very interesting line because the poet is telling us that it is not just melody, it is not just a painting, it is not just music, poetry, and these things that might bring in that sense of beauty, but rather the devotions that Susanna keeps themselves are beautiful examples of beauty. That is, when you sacrifice yourself, when you devote yourself, when you serve other people, for that kindness, for those devotions, you believe in, then you are again bringing in examples of beauty. So beauty is not just what we might find through senses, devotions, sacrifices are all by themselves examples of devotions, of beauty. And because of that, they also perpetuate a sense of beauty. He walked upon the grass, still quavering. Well, we don't know whether the grasses are quavering, just moving here and there, or this is Susanna, who, surprised by the conception of beauty, is now quivering. The winds like her maids. The winds were like her maids on timid feet, means just running fast. Huh? And you can imagine that when a bride is, in a wedding, when a bride goes into the church, some maids would take her cloth. It was just like that. The wind was that maid on quick feet, taking her garbs in the air, fetching her woven scarves, yet wavering. A breath upon her hand muted the night. When that breath is the breath of the elders when they come to her in praise of her beauty, and they want to pay their own tribute to her, kissing her hand. A breath upon her hand muted the night. It was just like that. There, hiding, how can I say? They're hiding enthusiasm for her beauty, deadened, muted the night. It was as if that music could no longer go on. The music that Susanna felt as she bathed, she turned, she rejected such a thing that the elders wanted. She turned, a cymbal crashed, and roaring horns. The elders' intrusion is, the elders' intrusion while Susanna is enjoying that sense of beauty, is put in terms of that brassy interruption of a cymbal and horns in music, as if the piano, the music played by piano is stopped by that. Soon, with a noise like tambourines, came her attendants, Byzantines. As the story is told, the Byzantines came, and as we read in the Apocrypha, she denied the elders. She did not accept the elders and what they wanted. And because of that, the elders falsely accused Susanna, but they could not prove that. They falsely accused Susanna of acting an immoral act, but they were this was proved to be wrong, and these were the elders who were put to death. Soon, with a noise like tambourines, came her attendants, Byzantines. They wondered why Susanna cried against the elders by her side. They just looked for what was the reason why Susanna was actually crying and shouting for help while these elders were present. And as they whispered, the refrain was like a willow swept away, and their refrain, as they saw such a scene, the Byzantines, as they saw what the elders have done, was weeping. Just they cried how these elders they trusted could be such immoral, and they wept for such a scene they witnessed. A nun, unknown, anonymously, their lamps uplifted flame revealed Susanna and her shame. As I told you, they just mean the elders. Falsely accused Susanna, but it was revealed that the elders were telling lies, and because of that, they were put to death. And on their lamps' uplifted flame revealed Susanna and her shame. And then the simpering Byzantines, those, frightened elders, fled with a noise like tambourines. They just escaped away to escape the penalty. But they were found, they were put to death. In the last section of the poem, actually the poet is concluding what he has already told us. He says, beauty is momentary in the mind. That instance of beauty is that much powerful that even one moment, 1 second of that beauty, once it happens, then whatsoever effects that beauty can have upon the readers would be created. Beauty is momentary in the mind. The fitful tracing of a portal. It is that momentary, that 1 second perception of beauty is just the gateway, the portal, the doorway to that conception of beauty. But in the flesh, it is immortal. You know, though the body itself dies, although the body, Susanna's body, dies away, that beauty she was associated with lives on in new embodiments. That is, beauty never dies, it just changes its shape through other things. Beauty's momentary in the mind, the fitful tracing of a portal, but in the flesh, it is immortal. The body dies, the body's beauty lives. So evenings die in their green going. A wave interminably flowing. Evenings as a beautiful moment, they also die. Everything beautiful dies. So gardens die, their meek breath scenting the cowl of winter. Dawn repenting. Well, Susanna's music. Susanna's music touched the body strings of those white elders. But scaping left only death is ironic, a scraping, as I told you, when they falsely accused her. They were actually found guilty of telling lies, of falsely accusing her, and they were put to death. but escaping left only death's ironic scraping. Now, in its immortality, it plays on the clear vial of her memory. You know, Susanna's beauty is reborn whenever we remember her, whenever we talk about Susanna. Her beauty is born again. Now, in its immortality, it plays on the clear vial of her memory and makes a constant sacrament of praise. And the more this feeling, this sensation of beauty is remembered by those who come to read Susanna's story, that constant, that everlasting, holy praise of beauty that Susanna was an example of will forever be felt by human beings. Although Susanna is dead now, her beauty and the way her beauty moved others still goes on. Her beauty has not stopped pleasing the readers, pleasing whoever reads her story and remembers her. It has that beauty has made this conception of beauty constantly and everlastingly, continuously experienced by anyone who comes to read about Susanna and her beauty. Huh? So as you can see, the subject matter of this poem is how beauty and truth are born in the imagination. You know, whenever I read this poem, whenever I teach this poem, I can always remember that very famous poem by John Keats, Ode on a Grecian Urn. The same thing is the subject of the poem there. Actually, John Keats, in that poem, Ode on a Grecian Urn, tells us that truth is beauty and beauty is truth. They are the same. And that's why truth and beauty always um, 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 make us enjoy. Truth is truth because of its beauty. And beauty is beautiful because of its truth. So, what comes to be the very magic of truth and beauty is that since truth leads to beauty, and since beauty also leads to truth, then this everlasting chain of recurring beauty and truth will never end. Any truth by itself is beautiful, and any beauty by itself is an example of truth. That's why I told you that the poem is about how the beauty and how beauty and truth are born in the imagination. All right, any questions I can answer? You're welcome. Most welcome. Okay, what do we have for next time? Welcome. The waking, huh? Not the walk. I think that would be the waking. Huh? Yeah, by Feretzky. Okay, what else? We do not take this poem as a religious poem. No, it's not a religious poem. It's a poem about beauty and wherever that beauty comes from. Anything which engenders beauty is the subject of this poem. It's not a religious poem, but religion by itself creates truths and beauties. So it is the source of beauty. It is the source of truths. Although the poem is not a religious poem, it takes anything which creates such a sense of beauty as the subject itself. All right, thank you very much. See you next time. Good luck.